Pastor Long.
Let's pray. Father, you are good, your mercies endure forever, and we pause tonight under your sovereignty to recognize your hand of influence. Father, for this board, who you've empowered to lead, we just pray your blessings upon them. Father, blessings upon them themselves, their homes, their wives. We pray your blessing upon their life, that you'd give them clarity of thought tonight. Father, for wisdom and discernment as they make decisions. Father, for all who gather, for the community that comes out tonight to bring requests, to discuss important matters with this board, we pray we would be reminded that this board and school officials are made up of humans flawed just like us. And Father, as they work through these issues tonight, I pray that we, the community, with clarity can convey our concerns and needs. Father, that they be heard with clarity. Father, tonight we're reminded as we move through this Advent season that you're about bringing peace on earth and goodwill towards men, and we pray that that would be exemplified in this room this evening. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor DeLong. Eva, come on up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Eva. Great job. Gabriel's not here? Okay.
Car problems.
Okay.
Clarence, you would like to sing? Would you like me to?
Are y'all ready? I can clear the room. I think we'll pass on that being the holidays and all. Casey, would you like to read the mission statement, please?
Our mission statement is education which inspires all to their highest potential.
Thank you. We can sit. I got confused. Jessica?
Good evening, everyone. Translation services in Spanish will be provided. Buenas noches a todos. Los servicios de traducción serán provistos en esta noche. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Move on to comments from our board and our superintendent. Kevin?
Board and our esteemed guests, staff, I'd like to recognize everyone that was involved with Christmas for the Kids. It was an event that happened last Saturday in the Osceola County School for the Arts. It was the first time that I witnessed it. It was very well organized. Everyone there was enjoying it. So much the people that were volunteering as the families that benefited from such an outstanding show of kindness from so many different entities in our county. And so I'd like to go ahead and publicly recognize and give my thanks to everyone that was involved. And the last thing I want to say is that let's enjoy this holiday break. Use the time that we have that is free, because it's not often that we get some free time, to educate ourselves, to feed our mind, learn about those things that we have some curiosity but don't have really the time to delve into, make us a wiser and more reasoned members of this community, and most of all, stay healthy and come back the next year ready to pick up again. Thank you.
Yeah, December 5th, had the St. Cloud Christmas Parade. I had the honor, privilege to ride in the back of the truck. I wanted to thank the art teacher at St. Cloud High School, Miss Joella Lowe. She does an outstanding job of building those floats. The folks over at maintenance, and I don't have all their names, and I apologize, but I know Miss Betty Brown, Chip Bishop. If there's anybody else, please, Mr. Cavaney. Those guys, and in St. Cloud, I don't know how they did in Kissimmee, they won the best government float. So congratulations to those guys. Also attended the school board conference, Florida State School Board Association conference in Tampa. Wanted to congratulate Melba because she was awarded the, Dana, help me out.
Outstanding communicator, superintendent communicator for the state.
Outstanding superintendent communicator for the state. So congratulations, Melba. And that's all I really have. Wanted to say a Merry Christmas to everyone, Happy Holidays, and to the kids, enjoy the break. So.
Thank you. Ricky took two of mine. Just a kudos on the parade and the float. We have such talented, dedicated people that make sure that that happens. And I continue to hear just great things from the community about how impressed they are with the quality of product we have. And it's not just what the float looks like, which is amazing, but it's also all the volunteers that come together to pull it together, not just from construction, but also performing, students running alongside of it and making sure they're interacting with the community. It's always a highlight. Also, Melba, I wanted to make sure I congratulated you as well. Appreciate all that you do to make sure that you get the word out about the great things that this district is doing. Want to take a moment to congratulate Coach Nichols and the staff and the Osceola Cowboys. Honestly, couldn't be more proud. I mean, that is a good team, a good coach, just a great program. And once again, to make it the States, they continue to show and represent everything that this community stands for, and they do it with integrity and grace. And so kudos to the Cowboys. Very, very pleased and proud. I wanted to just thank Lizette Brizendine. I had the pleasure of being over at Thacker yesterday for a reflective visit. I always appreciate you taking the time to set those up, and I appreciate the staff at Thacker indulging me and spending time with me and allowing me to walk around and get to see all the great things that happen in our classrooms. And then last thing, Mr. Booth mentioned the conference in Tampa. One of the great things that happened there was we got to highlight our new mobile STEM lab. And people from all over the state got to see just how innovative the Osceola School Board and the Osceola School District are. And it was great to see that. And then our ribbon cutting at Kissimmee Elementary School was great. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's something you're definitely going to want to take a look at and interact with, and also help spread the word about. This district and this board is very intentional about leading the way, and that is just one more example of it. So, Superintendent, thank you for your efforts in making sure that that took place, taking the lead on that charge, and making sure that this district is always ahead of the curve and setting the bar for all districts around the state of Florida. Mr. Chairman, I yield.
Superintendent?
Just wanted to mention one thing. We had Principal for a Day, and that was a great celebration. We had business people go out into the schools and spend half a day with them. And the greatest thing was debriefing, where they all came back and said, we have caring teachers, staff members, administrators who respect our children and who want them to be successful. So if everyone were able to spread that word, it would be great for Osceola County. And I also wanted to mention that during that time, someone said, I just wish there was someone from a newspaper out here to say something positive about Osceola County. And it just so happens that Ken Jackson from the Gazette was there. He was walking with the principal for a day. And I will say in public that he has done an excellent job at sharing good news that Osceola does. And we want to thank the Gazette for that. Oh, and I apologize. I have been reminded that we do have something else. We're going to share some information on the recess committee because they have met again, okay? And Lisette?
Yes. Thank you.
And I always call her the wrong last name. So Lisette, if you can introduce the parent this time, I'd appreciate
it. Good evening, Board and Superintendent. Yes, it is my pleasure to introduce our volunteer from the Elementary Recess Committee, Genevieve Callahan. Genevieve goes by Geraldine, so she has two names. I call her Geraldine, but you call her Genevieve. So here's Ms. Callahan to share our progress from our last meeting.
The Recess Committee met on December 11th. The members in attendance represented 3 district leaders, 2 SHAC members, 5 parents, 2 elementary principals, and their principal for a day participants. The major accomplishments during the meeting were, first, we created a draft proposal of a vision statement for recess. The statement is as follows. Elementary Recess Committee Vision Statement. Osceola County School District shall guarantee consistent recess to all elementary students in a safe and respectful environment to ensure whole child development. Second accomplishment, we created a draft definition of the term recess. We asked ourselves, what is recess? The group agreed upon the following proposed definition. Recess is a student-led amount of time that may include play, social interaction, rest. Recess is not withheld for punitive or academic reasons. Recess may be held in various locations. Third accomplishment, we agreed upon a timeline to accomplish our task of developing district recess guidelines. You have a copy of it on your handout. As you can see, we expect to present the final guidelines to you during the board meeting on February 16, 2016. Fourth, and this is very important, our committee wanted to implement immediate guidelines effective January to June 2016. They are as follows. First, every elementary school will have a minimum of 15 minutes of daily recess for grades K to 2. This expectation will impact schools currently with less than 75 minutes of recess a week. For schools that already have recess for 15 minutes or more a day on their schedule, there would be no change. Second, recess is not withheld for punitive or academic reasons. Lastly, our next meeting will be in January 7, 2016. During the next meeting, we will write our first draft for the district recess guidelines.
Thank you so much. And as you heard from Ms. Callahan, there are about 8 schools that actually do not reflect the recommendation that we are putting forward for the second semester for grades K through 2nd. I have already informed all principals that this is an expectation, as well as that recess would not be withheld for punitive or academic reasons. I will personally work with those 8 principals to see if these modifications can be made on the master schedule with minimal impact on their current daily schedule. So we will keep you posted in January of the next step.
Questions, board?
May I just mention one thing?
Thank you.
I just want to mention that Ms. Callahan mentioned that 2 of the business people were at that committee, and I want to compliment you because they came back and said, these are people who are truly passionate and love our children. So thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Dr. Brisendine, I have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
Based on your timeline here, because I'm not sure of the dates, is this something that we would be able to implement for the start of the second semester?
The immediate guidelines is what we are hoping to from January to June of 2016.
So on the day they go back to school, or?
It's, the second semester begins towards the middle of January.
Well, that's what I thought. I didn't know if
Yes.
you could, would that require board action, or is that something you'll just do and implement yourself?
There are very few schools that do not have this. I think
About 8 schools right now.
schools, and Lisette will be speaking with them. I'm sure she has talked to them already, and so they are looking at their schedules and recreating some of that.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're comfortable with that? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Callahan.
Thank you.
And Dr. Brisendine. Briefly, before we move on the comments, I just want to reiterate a couple.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I didn't get to make my comments. Most of the things I did want to talk about were discussed, but the STEM bus, I just kind of want to talk very, very briefly on the importance of the STEM bus, not just totally what the STEM bus does in of itself, but it's an example of what we're doing as a school district and a county commission and a community to really pull some things together in this town that I think long-term provide better jobs, provide people, our kids wanting to stay in this town, have a place to live, have a place to work, in a little higher income type jobs. This ties exactly in with the sensor project that the county is doing, where they're spending $120 million on developing some high-tech industry. There's immediate needs for how you supply that industry with workers. The STEM bus certainly in 5th grade doesn't solve that problem. But what hopefully it does, it starts to look at what's down the road in 7, 8, 10, 12 years. And we hear it constantly. We have homelessness. We have low-paying jobs. This is about solving the next set of problems of homelessness and low-paying jobs by providing the workforce. And the STEM bus is, in of itself, is one thing, but it's also an environment that this community has pulled together on, and it's extremely important. And it speaks volumes about the commitment of this whole community towards improving our lot in life here. So, thank you. Move on to our presentations. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, we need to recess for a public hearing on board rules first. And call that portion of the meeting to order. John?
Good evening, school board and superintendent. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. Tonight we have a public hearing scheduled. I'll briefly review the proposed revisions to the school board rules, and we would request the opportunity required by statute for public comment, and then we would request action on these changes tonight. These are the same rules that were brought to you at the workshop in November. The first proposed new school board rule is 6.84, prohibited interaction with students. It establishes a new policy that defines prohibited interaction between employees and students, requires the duty to report known or suspected violations, and clarifies the consequences for noncompliance as employee discipline per school board policy, law, or any applicable collective bargaining agreement up to and including termination. School Board Rule 2.70, prohibiting discrimination, including sexual and other forms of harassment. The original changes submitted to you revised paragraph 1A to comply with recent legislation that changes sections 760.01 and following in Florida statutes regarding the Florida Civil Rights Act to include pregnancy as a protected class. It revises paragraphs 1C, 4A, and 6A1 to make the policy language consistent with related policies and procedures and throughout this rule. In addition to these changes that were submitted in the in the board workshop in November, the school board attorney, Mr. Brown, reviewed these revisions and suggested additional changes that I submitted to you in an addendum in an email and also provided a hard copy tonight. Briefly summarized, these changes would add a new first paragraph to clarify that our policy does not create a private right of action against the school board beyond prevailing state and federal law, and requires individuals to exhaust the complaint procedure within our rule to provide the school district the opportunity to investigate and provide appropriate remedial action. As a result, the subsequent paragraphs in the rule are reclassified or renumbered. It also revises existing paragraph 6B1H, reclassified as paragraph 7B1H, to clarify the procedures for the accused to request that the superintendent review a finding of reasonable cause, so that these procedures are consistent and parallel with those procedures for the complainant to request the review of a finding of no reasonable cause. In other words, to make the two paragraphs parallel and consistent. Lastly, it adds paragraph 7B2D, reclassifies existing paragraph 7B2D as paragraph 7B2E to clarify that the school board shall make the final determination if reasonable cause is found in the event there was a complaint against an assigned or appointed versus an elected superintendent. It distinguishes the process for elected versus appointed, and this, we hope, never happens, but it's part of the policy and it's now clarified in this revision. The next school board rule revision would be for Rule 6.101, affirmative action. It revises paragraphs 5A, 5C to comply with recent legislation for the same reasons as the revisions to School Board Rule 2.70 in regards to including pregnancy as a protected class and to make the policy language consistent throughout the rule. Changes proposed to 6.321, employee use of cellular telephones, revises paragraph 2B to define exceptions for district-approved technology, hardware, and software, and for emergency situations to make the policy consistent with related policies and procedures within the district. And lastly, there are revisions in the elementary student progression plan that revise the document to reflect recent changes in state law and to provide consistency with district precedent and current practice, for example, district assessments. These are all the changes that we have submitted to the board for this evening for action. At this time, we would request an opportunity per statute for the public to have public comment if needed.
John, board, do we have any public comment on the proposed rule changes? Hearing none, close that portion. Board, we need any action right now?
If you had any questions, we'd be willing to answer them, and if you could take action tonight, we're happy to entertain that.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed rule changes.
Thank you, Mr. Soto.
Motion approved by Mr. Soto.
I'll second.
A motion to approve the proposed rule changes by Mr. Soto and second by Mr. Booth. Any discussion, board? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
No.
Motion carries 3-1 with board member Weishire, no.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
With that, we will adjourn that portion of the public hearing and reconvene our regular board meeting and move on to presentations. Are we still moving B first?
Here? They're here.
They're here? Okay, we'll stay on the Florida Student of the Month recognition. Debbie Famey?
Good evening. It's my great pleasure to introduce you to Wendy Hawkins, who might as well have come from Miami with the traffic she sat in to get here. She's been on quite a little trek to be here tonight with a very special presentation and one that really touches my heart. She is with VSA Arts of Florida, and she'll tell you a little bit about that. But I'll turn the microphone over to Wendy Hawkins, and she'll let you know why she's here today.
Thank you. This is wonderful. I'm very happy to be here on behalf of VSA. VSA is an arts organization dedicated to making the arts accessible to all. We provide arts education and cultural opportunities for people with disabilities statewide. So I'm very happy to be here on behalf of VSA to present this trophy for VSA Student of the Month Award to Kylie Murray. The Student of the Month Award is in recognition of students that have overcome challenges in order to achieve in the arts. It's also designed to recognize and raise public awareness for the importance of arts in education and students participating in the arts not only develop creativity, but increase self-awareness and self-confidence. So, Kylie was nominated by her Fine Arts and Performing Arts Research Specialist. Thank you, Debbie Famey. Am I? Am I best? And so Debbie writes that Kylie was nominated because at the beginning of the year, she attended her first band classroom as a beginning student with enormous passion and drive, overcoming challenges with the help of a special instrument that was purchased on her behalf, enabled her to, without the use of fingers and hands, using only her breath, to become a fully participating and independent member of the Neptune Band. So her dedication and commitment have inspired other students as well. Kylie was the driving force behind the Lunchtime Art Club, is that correct? And Student of the Week nominee. And she is involved in Best Buddies programming, mentoring another student with disabilities. So VSA would like to thank your school and your teachers for their support and congratulate you, Kylie, on all your creative endeavors, and thank you for your inspiration to us all.
Those of you who were welcomed with the sounds of the season, you know that was the Neptune Jazz Band. And so I'd like Howard Hart to come on up here too, the band director, and get in the picture. And also Principal Miss Cindy Moen, who makes all things possible at Neptune. Cindy, would you come on up and get in the picture as well? And then, let's go to the middle.
Debbie, do you want to go? Yes, yes, yes.
Congratulations. And for those of you that don't know, she did perform for us in a board meeting about, I don't know, 2-3 months ago. It was quite amazing.
Next, we have a recognition of Osceola School District's Outstanding School Volunteers of the Year. I'd like to invite PIO Ms. Dana Schaefer.
Thank you. Good evening. Each year, the Florida Department of Education sponsors the statewide Outstanding School Volunteer Award competition to recognize the many school volunteers who give of themselves unselfishly to help students and schools. This year, each school had the opportunity to nominate an outstanding volunteer in 3 different categories: youth, adult, and senior. Osceola schools recognized 37 volunteers for the honor at the school level. Tonight, Robin Davis in our Oasis School Volunteer Office and I are extremely proud to recognize 3 special volunteers who have been selected as District Volunteers of the Year in recognition of their outstanding service. Would School Board, Mr. Soto, would you join us? And Mrs. Luciano, would you join us down front? Our District Youth Volunteer of the Year is Marissa Serrano, a senior at PAFS.
She must be volunteering somewhere.
Is this Marissa? Come on down.
There she is.
Marissa, if you want to head that way. Marissa, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Marissa. Marissa comes to Parton Settlement Elementary School 2 hours a day, 4 days a week. She is not only part of the Bookmark Buddies program, she is quick to pick up other tasks as well. Some days it is helping kindergarten students with math concepts or working one-on-one with students to ensure they have fully mastered a new concept. Other days, she is assisting the librarian in setting up the book fair, helping teachers in the classrooms, and preparing classes to finish up and leave the cafeteria. Working with both kindergarten and third grade students, Marissa is helping to increase both literacy and math skills, which benefit not only the children, but the school and the community as a whole. Marissa is described as having a sweet temperament and a happy exuberance, which serves her well in her many tasks she does for the school. She's a hard worker who is entirely self-motivated. Her natural abilities and charming demeanor have been assets to Parton Settlement Elementary in the 70-plus hours of her time that she has already given to the school this year. Marissa, thank you for being an outstanding volunteer. We'll do a group photo when we get our next winners. Our district adult volunteer of the year is Yesenia Alvarado, and she volunteers her time at Discovery Intermediate School. In addition to increasing student achievement, Discovery Intermediate is focused on decreasing student discipline rates this year. Mrs. Alvarado plays an intricate role at Discovery Intermediate. Not only does she volunteer each week in the front office and in the ESOL office, but more importantly, she volunteers in the school's Positive Behavior Store, which is PBS. In past years, the PBS program was unable to live up to its fullest potential, primarily due to the lack of volunteers needed to run the store. Mrs. Alvarado single-handedly runs the store and also plays a vital role in obtaining various rewards to be placed in the store. Her dedication to the success of the store and the roughly 1,000 students who participate in the PBS program has allowed Discovery Intermediate to see a drop in over 120 discipline referrals. Not only does Mrs. Alvarado volunteer, she is also quick to jump on board to be trained for new initiatives. This year, Discovery Intermediate is piloting a new program for the PBS initiative at the district level. Mrs. Alvarado has come in for various trainings with the program and been vital in rolling out the system to the school. For years, Discovery Intermediate has been dreaming of that one parent who would volunteer and be active in the daily functions of the school. Mrs. Alvarado is a dream come true. Thank you. And finally, our district senior volunteer of the year is Nancy Camp, who volunteers at St. Cloud High School. It's Nate Fancher. She's volunteering. Let me tell you about Nancy. Nancy Camp has been instrumental in providing students with multiple opportunities to receive enrichment and remediation during school hours, as well as after school hours. She has been committed to working with teachers to provide a location for students who work with tutors across all content areas, as well as providing a place where students can use computers to allow them to complete assignments, conduct research, to write essays, college applications, scholarship applications, and resumes. In addition, Mrs. Camp has worked during school hours to run math and writing clinics, as well as on Saturday to be part of the, get this name, Saturday School Bites. And let me tell you what BITES means. Building Intelligence Toward Academic Success Program. Dogs bite. Dogs bite. That's appropriate. She works closely. I thought I had to clarify that. She works closely with teachers and the tutoring program to allow students to work on improving the mastery of their content in their classes and preparing for their state assessments. The number of students benefiting from the service is over 100 students weekly. This service aligns with the goals of the School Improvement Plan, which is to increase student achievement on state assessments by 3%. Mrs. Camp has been volunteering for the past 2 years and has dedicated over 160 hours of service to the students and staff of St. Cloud High School. Her rapport with students and school staff have allowed these programs to thrive on the campus. So we thank Ms. Nancy for her wonderful volunteer service. And just to close, these 3 district school volunteers of the year are going to represent Osceola County School District at the state level for the Outstanding School Volunteers of the Year. And they represent over the 17,000 school volunteers that we have in our Oasis Volunteer Program annually. So their involvement, your involvement is part of our success. So we thank you tremendously. If we could get a quick picture. If we could get a little bit tighter, please. That looks good. Okay, ready? I'm gonna take 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dana. Appointments and transfers?
Yes.
Superintendent?
Yes, we have a few of them. Larry Meadows, where are you? Can you come on up? There is an assistant principal position available that you're going to make a recommendation to our board.
Joining me is Michael Zella. Good evening, Board and Superintendent. It's my great pleasure to introduce Michael Zella. And Michael, if you come down with me. A few facts about Michael is the fact that he's worked in the school district for about 20 years, and he's worked at St. Cloud High, and he's been at Harmony High School in a number of leadership development positions and roles. And it's my great pleasure to talk a little bit about him. Just a few fast facts. One, he went to that school in Tallahassee. I can't quite remember the name of that. His undergraduate is in
Girls College.
I was hoping somebody would say that other than me, but after that last football game, I can't say too much. But in any event, thought I'd say that before somebody else did. His undergraduate was in language arts education, and he had a great career in the classroom at both St. Cloud and Harmony. He has had a number of awards. He's National Board Certified. He's been a MTSS person. He's been a bullying specialist at one of the schools. He's done a whole lot of stuff to develop himself in preparation for some things. And so one of the things, though, that I found most interesting just recently in a conversation, for 3 summers, he, at the Magic Kingdom, he served as Davy Crockett in a summer employment role. And so how can you take that whole total package and not be interested in it? And so it's with great pleasure, all humor aside, it's great pleasure that I make the recommendation for him to become the next assistant principal at Gateway High School.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve by Mr. Weishire and a second by
Discussion.
Mr. Soto. Any discussion?
This is how long Mr. Zella's been in. He started at St. Cloud High School when I was a student at St. Cloud High School. So congratulations, Mr. Zella. That's it. That's my discussion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0. Congratulations. Anything you would like to introduce?
I'm surprised at how many people I know here. My wife Erica and my daughter Jordan and my son Jacob are here, who have all been very supportive of me throughout the whole time. I'm very touched that Mr. Butler, the principal I've been working under at Harmony High School, is here, as well as the administrative dean at TICO for St. Cloud, Mr. Shannon Melvin. I feel very supported by Osceola County Schools. I am a product of Osceola County Schools. My kids are in Osceola County Schools. I am what we want to do, is have people involved in the community, people who are educated in our system, participate in our system, and I'm just very thankful to be in this position, and I appreciate it very much.
Right. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And one more. Timmy Godwin, would you stand up, please? There you go. Board, I'd like to recommend Timmy for the principal at Reedy Creek Elementary School. She has held many positions, teacher at Weingard Elementary in Orange County, teacher at St. Cloud Christian School, a teacher, dean, and behavior specialist at Narcoossee Community School, teacher at Koa Elementary School, assistant principal at Koa Elementary School. She received her bachelor's degree in elementary education from the University of Central Florida and a master's degree in educational leadership from Nova University.
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve by Mr. Soto and second by Mr. Weishauer. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Congratulations. Do you have some people with you you'd like to introduce?
Yes, my husband is to my right. My Koa family, always behind me. I have a couple of friends from St. Cloud Elementary over there, and I have my new family here from Reedy Creek.
Great.
So,
Congratulations.
It's a fabulous feeling to be surrounded by all this support.
Great.
Congratulations. Mr. Thacker?
Yes.
Would we like to invite them to leave and go, and go,
That's what I was going to do.
there you go, thank you.
I think that we should make a new rule if you get appointed on that. You have to stay for the whole meeting. I'm joking.
Now, if you'd like to leave, and those of you here for the appointments would like to leave and go celebrate your new positions with your family and friends, please feel free to take a moment, and then we will continue on with our meeting.
But Mom, you have to stay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, moving on to our public comment. Have a couple people who'd like to address the board tonight. Debbie McDonald. If you would come up to the microphone and give us your name and your address for the record.
My name is Debbie McDonald.
You'll have 3 minutes to address us, and the lights will.
My address is 402 Iris Street, Celebration, Florida. And I'm speaking today for Elizabeth Ashman, a graduate from Celebration High School from 2005. She moved to Celebration in 1996, and at 8 years old, as one of the founding families for the next 10 years thereafter, Celebration was my home. I attended the K-8 interim school, also known as the Teaching Academy. When I started school, Celebration was completely different from traditional public schools environment. Early on, I showed an interest in video and photography, and Celebration allowed me to integrate those interests into my day-to-day schooling. I took full advantage of this at every opportunity. Teachers and faculty supported my passion from its infancy. Thinking back on it now, my short film, Mitosis, starring Barbie and Ken, would not likely win the grand prizes at Canes, but allowing me to learn biology in a way that excited and encouraged me to care about the subject matter was very special. The learning environment at Celebration fostered my passions, and that encouragement bred fortitude and set up a level of expectation of myself and what I wanted that is very integral part of the fibers of my makeup and successes. My career has been expedited in a lot of ways because Celebration allowed me to break into a highly competitive field from childhood. I learned about cameras and photography in elementary school. I started making videos for my projects and presentations in middle school, and by the time I was in high school, everyone expected me to incorporate video or photography into my classroom projects. Today, I am a commercial, television, and documentary film producer. This year alone, I have produced over 40 commercials and independent content pieces for brands such as Warner Brothers, Records, and Nike. I've worked all over the world for networks such as NBC, A&E, BBC, MTV, the Travel Channel, the Food Network, Discovery Science, and PBS. I spent several years in New York City working for Sesame's Workshop, and yes, I do know how to get to Sesame Street. In January, I'm producing video and photo content for the Nobel Prize Peace Forum and sending crews to India and the South Sudan to give a voice to those who do not have the privileges, access, or opportunities the Western world has provided me, and to those that stand before you today. I know how special my education was, and I'm filled with immense gratitude. Nearly 20 years later, I still feel tied to Celebration and to the foundation that was laid. I am a direct product and a result of the experience I was given, and I shouldn't be a part of the last generation to say that about Celebration School. When something is right, when something works, we should collectively and fundamentally agree to support that system, not tear it down. I can only hope that you will hear from all the voices today and you will truly listen to the echoes of sentiment behind each one and why this matters so much to all of us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Emily Juniman.
Evening, happy holidays. My name is Emily Junman, 1526 Resolute Street, Celebration, Florida, 34747. And I just want to share a little bit about Celebration School with you as well. At the age of 9, I wrote a letter to the Osceola County School Board and Celebration Teaching Academy Director Bobby Vogel with an urgent request that 2 interns at Celebration Teaching Academy who had made a particularly strong impact on my education be hired as full-time educators for the first year of Celebration School. Both were hired and continue to help me grow, even to this day now as close family friends. At the age of 10, I led a peaceful protest against the closing of my favorite attraction, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at Walt Disney's Magic Kingdom theme park, as a part of a self-directed social studies project. Before its closing on September 7th, 1997, our efforts in this initiative were featured in multiple news publications around the country, including the Orlando Sentinel, New York Times, and Los Angeles Times. By 11, I had written a full semester's curriculum outlining the physics behind the workings in Walt Disney World monorail, Space Mountain, and Haunted Mansion rides. I provided my peers with a week-long mini course in my findings, and then led them on a field trip to experience what I had learned together in person. When I didn't make the cut as a vocalist for a school musical at 12 years old, my educators agreed to allow me to assemble a team to compose the next term's school musical personally, an original score of my own imagination. My school provided me with the first touchscreen laptops years before they were sold to the public, a key to open the doors to my assigned classes in the form of an electric ring worn around my finger, and state-of-the-art photography studio complete with darkroom many professionals only dream of having access to. When I share this type of stories with my colleagues today, they look at me in disbelief. I feel as if I can read their thoughts as they roll their eyes and chuckle, that Emily's making up another crazy story about school. Every time that this happens, I am filled with inconceivable feeling of pride. I am proud because I received an education so exceptional that most people do not believe me when I share stories about it. Celebration School's innovative curriculum and intimate, learner-focused environment nurtured my passion to share the things I love of the world. Essentially, they taught me to become exactly who I wanted to be using all of my greatest talents and abilities. As a result of the phenomenal education provided to me by Celebration School, I am honored today to have a thriving career not only on the executive team at the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin Resort, leading our consumer affairs and social media departments, but as an independent social media personality for Disney. Every day I share my adventures at the most magical place on earth with an excess of 820,000 internet followers of mine. I ask that you consider the proposed expansion to Celebration School and how this will affect our future learners. It is my dream to one day present my own children with the same phenomenal experience that their mother received at this outstanding institution. I do not believe that saturating it with additional learners is the best way to achieve this goal, but I trust that you will make the best decision in this matter, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson?
Feel short. April Jackson, 722 Mabott Street, Kissimmee, Florida. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just checking because I always mispronounce it. What Michelle is giving to you is we recently, as we've been visiting schools throughout the county, we keep hearing over and over again about how stressed the teachers are and the ESPs. So we did a little informal stress survey to see if it was pretty rampant across the district or just in some schools. So we had 383 of our members respond, which is 15%. Not great, but it's pretty good. If you look at the survey itself, the years of experience was pretty varied, so it was a good cross-selection. But if you look at the second page, and it says, my work-related stress level, and I typed it wrong, this year compared to last year has either increase slightly or increase significantly. If you add those two numbers together, 308 of the 383 people that took the survey said they're under more stress this year than last year. When you look at the next question is, would you consider changing jobs? Because you know there's a shortage. And so far this year, I gave you also the list of everybody that's resigned or left the district for other reasons. And there are 165, 128 since the start of school. I'm not really counting this 20-some, 37 or whatever that resigned at the first board meeting, because they could have resigned over the summer. It just takes a while for the paperwork. But 159 said that they want to change professions. That scared me. 159 want to change professions. Then when we ask if you had an opportunity to change careers and make $1,000 to $3,000 more, 312 said they'd leave teaching to do something else. And when you look at the very last question, and the last two questions, it says, are you under doctor's care to help you manage stress? 29% of the individuals that responded to the survey are under doctor's care for work-related stress. That's a frightening number. And the two things that caused the most stress for the employees that responded, number one was testing, and number two was paperwork. So we need to try and find ways to reduce the stress for our employees, and hopefully with the new, it was ESEA, but I think it's what, ESSA now, that the federal government just passed, that the leaders in Tallahassee will take note that we can't continue to overtest our children. We need to make education important so we can do things like the teachers at Celebration were doing. A lot of us would teach that way, but right now, our priority is to make sure our students are successful on the test. And we need to go back to the day when the teachers and the ESPs in the district can teach and not worry about the test. Thank you.
That concludes our public comment. We'll move on to agenda modifications, and I have a couple to start with. Under new business, we'll be pulling, Jay Wheeler had an issue on concussions. We're going to move that back to the next board meeting, I believe. I would like to add one on, there's a celebration agreement based on number of students, just to have a quick discussion about that for really into the future. Any other changes, Superintendent? Go ahead.
I would like to pull from our regular agenda under Human Resources, letters D and F.
Any other, Larry, you've got a executive session, but you can do that when we get there, right?
Yes, sir, just request the need for that.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't have any.
Okay. Board?
Chairman, we're just going to deal with the evaluation at the end of the meeting as well.
I
so we
apologize, yes, I missed that. We're also under new business, we will add the superintendent evaluation at the very end.
Thank you, I'm good.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Booth, second by Mr. Weishauer. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed,
Aye.
like sign. Motion carries 4-0.
Yes. Aye.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, that brings us down to information agenda items, which we have in our packet, the Business Advisory Board. Bring us to the regular agenda items. There's no comments on that?
I don't have any.
I'm good.
Regular agenda. Board, your pleasure.
Mr. Chairman, if you'll allow me, I'd make a motion to approve letters A and B under curriculum instruction.
Second.
I have a motion to approve items A and B by Mr. Weishauer, second by Mr. Booth. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0.
I'd like to make a motion under Human Resources to approve letter C.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Booth with a second by Mr. Weishauer to approve item C. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve letter E under human resources.
I'll second that motion.
Item E, under Human Resources, we have a motion to approve by Mr. Weishauer with a second by Mr. Soto. Any board discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion approves 3-1. Mr. Booth in dissent.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve letter G.
I'll second the motion.
Have a motion by Mr. Weishauer to approve item G with a second by Mr. Soto. Any further discussion, board? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0.
Mr. Chairman, under Business and Finance, if you'll allow me, I'll make a motion to approve letters H through U, and I'm going to have a question on letter P.
So we want
Do you want to pull P?
to pull it or just raise the
No,
question?
I'm okay with
So
it.
it's
I'm
a
just
I'll make a second.
discussion?
Yeah,
I'll make
just
a
want
second.
You seconded?
Yes. I'll second.
I have a motion for approval of items H through U by Mr. Weishauer, second by Mr. Booth, with discussion on item P.
Yeah, just a quick question. I just didn't know that we had ticket takers and parking attendants and all that as far as a contract service. So when I saw that, it just intrigued me, and I wanted to just understand it a little bit more.
When we rent the facility out for outside performances and stuff, we have parking attendants and we have ticket takers, and that's a fee that's passed on to.
Perfect. Thank you. Just wanted to understand it. I appreciate it.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion under facilities to approve letters V, X. Actually, you know what? I'll motion to approve all V, W, X, and Y. I just have a question on
Okay.
letter W.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishauer to approve items V through Y, second by Mr. Booth with some discussion. Mr. Weishauer?
Yeah, Mr. Wells, this is a significant approval for the board. I'd like if you would just maybe just give us a brief overview if you have just a moment.
Sure.
Thank you. And obviously I made the motion, so I'm in favor of it. I just want to make sure that we talk about it.
This is to go ahead and get Gilbane under contract to start working with the architect on the design, bringing them on early on and through pre-construction allows for the design and everything, all the schematic plans and everything to flow easier. We're starting to get engineering work done, as well as they will be able to go ahead and identify long lead items such as chillers and technology needs and such, and they can go ahead and get those planned for when we bring a GMP back to you. But that's exactly pre-construction.
Yep, and I appreciate that. And what do you anticipate the timeline being for bringing that GMP back?
I know they're negotiating it. They have, John said they have the schematic designs in place where they can start pricing and everything. I would say I would have a real good answer for you at our January workshop. I know he was going to update the board on where we're at with that whole process.
Okay, and then a follow-up question, and maybe even comment would be, and this is why I want to just kind of talk through it real quick, because it's
Sure.
coming before us for a vote. It's a significant amount of money. I'm in favor of it. We need to move forward. Where is the board going to have some additional input on other components? And I'll mention something just by way of example. I'll mention two things. Alternative energy sources, things like that we might be able to use to lower long-term energy costs, create increased efficiency for the campus. That would be one. And then another one would be, I've had some conversations, this isn't in KUA service area, but I've had conversations with KUA about doing like solar canopies at our schools and doing community solar work, and there's a partnership that exists with that. We have large parking lots all over the community. I'd like us to explore that, and I just wondered if this campus shouldn't be one of the initial, and again, this isn't KUA, this is going to be an OUC thing, but nonetheless, when is the board going to be able to have some of that conversation before the GMP, and where are you guys at in that process?
It'll be this spring when we get more design finalized for the design. Now that we got Gilbane on board, we can start really putting hard plans together, and they can, at that time, they can go out and start pricing, and that is when we would go in and start, talking about these, of what exactly we're doing.
Okay, great.
You know.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Board, again, I speak in favor of the motion.
Got lost in that. Okay. And I've got a comment, but it's not directly related to this, so we'll go ahead and take the vote, and then I'll throw that out there real quick. I have a motion for approval of items B through Y. Mr. Weishauer, second by Mr. Booth. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion approved, 4-0. Just a quick comment, board, based on the earlier meeting we had today, or for Mr. Wells maybe, or based on what y'all think. I think we should make sure as we're doing these new schools and stuff, we should get some of the security people we talked to today to take a look at those along the way before it's too late.
Right.
To add some comment, and I don't know, I'd leave that up to Clyde. I don't know what y'all think.
I would agree with you 100%.
That's all we need there.
Yep.
Okay. That brings us down, I think, to superintendent, to class size.
I'm looking for approval. As you are aware, I just wanted to share good news that we did meet the class size amendment, and we have a flexibility that we can go over by 3 to 5 students, knowing fully well that sometimes you get 1 or 2 students in a particular grade level, and suddenly we would have to hire a new teacher. So the state does allow us to have this flexibility, and I'm looking for approval from the board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Booth, a second by Mr. Soto to approve the class size flexibility. Any
Just
further discussion?
No, just a quick comment, Melba. I don't even think I need to make the comment, but obviously the board continues to grant this. You know, we're in a difficult situation the way it is, and I would just, of course, I know you're going to do it anyway, just make sure that we're very purposeful about how we balance all those things out and how we use the flexibility. Again, I know I don't need to say it, but I just want to make sure that you hear it from me.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0. Mr. Brown?
Yes, I need to request an executive session at the meeting coming up on January 19th, 2016. It's in connection with Jason Leffert, L-E-F-E-R-T versus School Board. That's Osceola Circuit Case Number 2014-CA-2790. It was originally in federal court, but the federal judge dismissed all the federal claims and sent it back to state court. We would like to have an executive session to discuss those matters at the next meeting. That's all I need to say.
That's all you need, right? No action.
Yeah, no action unless if there's a consensus for that. I will get with Amber Bell in the usual way. We'll publish the notice. Thank you.
That's good. Unfinished business superintendent search. We did all that in the workshop. I added.
Sir, may I ask a
Sure.
question? I wasn't at the meeting, but just for clarification in regards to our meetings in January.
Yes.
We had one for the 26th.
We decided there we will move the superintendent selection to an agenda item on the January 19th agenda.
Thank you. So we will not be having the 26th meeting.
No.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks for bringing that up. I added a item on celebration, and I think you probably all heard some of the issues going on what our plan is with celebration, which I don't think we know what the plan is yet, but there is a piece to that there's been an agreement in place, and Tom, you chime in and correct me when I'm wrong, or Clyde, or Rhonda, since you're here, that basically had some splits on celebration, and it was like 80-20, 80% of the students there would come from within their community. That agreement expires in May or June. I've talked to the staff. I think the staff seems to think it's fine to extend that. I just wanted to get some feeling from you guys if we could let them go ahead and take a look at that agreement and bring it back. If we so choose to, ahead of the June deadline. There's a huge discomfort in celebration on where we're going with this thing, on whether we're going to move all their students out or not out. I don't think there's any intention of that. And just see if y'all have any thoughts on that, one way or the other.
No, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to keep the agreement the way that it is. I mean, I don't know.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Well, I was saying if we're going to renew it in May, go ahead and get the renewal, get the process started. Is what I wasn't looking at changing it.
What I'm going to ask is that we I don't, I want to go ahead and revisit the purpose of the agreement, see if that purpose is still viable, see how it meets and how it aligns with our strategic goals. If all of that makes sense, then by all means, the agreement is going to work out. You could extend it. I don't know if the board even has enough information to make that determination right now.
I'm trying to do it now. I'm just seeing if we could direct staff before the January meeting to do exactly what you're asking.
So staff should understand that that's what we're asking, that we ask that the analysis be completed, and that those questions be addressed, at least to this board member. I'd like to know exactly the initial purpose, what is the purpose now, how does it help the district, how does it help us meet our strategic goals? With all that in mind, then it'll be easier for us to make a decision rather than just say, well,
And that's what I was asked. That was the intent of what I was asked, for them to review it and bring us a recommendation of what they think.
Yeah. And then from there we go forward, right?
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you, Mr. Chairman. The concern is that without the agreement in place, then that the school board may have less than 80% enrollment from within the community. Is that the fear?
I think the fear is there were some allegations or some rumors and everything else going on that this is an attempt to move kids out. I don't think anybody has that intent. And I was looking at this. I went to their community meeting last night with Mr. Wheeler, and between a bunch of phone calls I had during the week and then last night, there was a big fear that that's it. And if we are comfortable with this mix, this is a possible solution, at least allaying that fear of what we were trying to do with the expansion or the school in the village or whatever.
I'm with you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Felt, if I may.
Yeah.
Bella Lago, we have a similar agreement. Does Harmony have an agreement like that as well? I'm thinking.
Harmony and Floor Ridge.
Yeah, so it's not uncommon. Okay.
Right. And I just wanted to caution about rushing into this without an analysis because of the Bella Lago experience that we had. And so, that's why you need to revisit these things, see, where it takes us. Obviously, if it's gonna align with what our plans are, then it's gonna work out well.
That's what we need to do.
Yes.
I'm on board.
Yeah.
I don't think we need anything else. Do you, Tom?
I just wanted to
Mr.
mention,
Brown?
yeah, at the meeting last night, Mr. Wheeler asked that I get with staff and request that it get put on the agenda at the first meeting in February. That was his idea.
Well, I'd like
He
it,
announced
if we
that.
can go ahead and move, if you can get it in January 16th? Oh, I forget y'all are out of here for 2 weeks. This, about, whatever the next.
It's all practical for us to do it after we've had some discussions. We'll definitely.
As quickly as you can, as practical, no later than February. How about that? Okay. I forgot about that.
And I'm happy to talk to board members and staff separately offline. Dr. Vogel and I negotiated and wrote it, in 1994. So I remember specifically how the 80-20 came about and what the purpose was and all that. So.
Yeah, and evaluate whatever makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
Lastly, is the superintendent's evaluation, which we discussed at the workshop, but we held for action at the board meeting. So, board, I will.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we acknowledge the fact that our superintendent has met goals 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that the appropriate bonus as per contract be allotted.
Second with discussion.
I have a motion for approval by Mr. Weisauer for items that the superintendent's goals on items 2, 3, 4, and 5 have been met, and to approve with the contracted bonus amount, seconded by Mr. Soto. Discussion, Mr. Soto?
Thank you, Mr. Tacker. First of all, I'm not particularly thrilled that this took so long, and I appreciate the superintendent's patience with this. It's not, waiting for assessment data. It's always difficult, and it seems to be a thorn on the side for many other things upon which these evaluations depend on. It's just an unfortunate fact of the school industry here in Florida right now. The other thing I want to mention is that, the superintendent has done an exemplary job with each and every one of those evaluation goals. And I just want to put it on the record that I took the time to go ahead and understand exactly the work involved and the superintendent's own personal input and touch that was unique in addressing a lot of the situation and issues that came up. I cannot say enough of how pleased and proud I am of your performance, Ms. Luciano, and I thank you very much.
Just a quick comment. It's related, but it really has to do with what we're going to have to deal with in January. Is we've struggled with this evaluation process because of timeline and getting data for a number of years now. We tried to create a solution to it last year by pushing the timeline back and reassess or readjusting the contract timeline and so on and so forth. So, Chairman, as you go into dealing with some of that for us and with us with the next superintendent as well, I don't know if we're ever going to get it because we pushed the timeline back and here we are in December. We're still having the conversation, but I just so you know, it is something that we're going to have to try to figure out because, look, at the end of the day, you know, we're all held accountable day by day. The superintendent both needs to be and wants to be. It's part of our job, but yet we're constantly in this predicament of trying to figure out what to do. And I think, Mr. Soto, your point is on point. I mean, it's not fair to a superintendent to have an evaluation hanging out there long after it should, but yet at the same time, I know the board was trying to make the most prudent decision. And as is typical, the relationship we've had with the superintendent, there's been an ongoing willingness for patience and collaboration and all that. So we're going to have to figure it out some way.
We have to find things that can be evaluated.
Yeah, and I guess that's my point.
Or not rely on that data. I mean, I just don't see it. If it's going to be this late, I see it. Whatever constructive positives we can get from that is we lost it.
Yeah. Point simply being, I think we're going to have to figure out a way to improve our process with this.
Agreed. Absolutely agree. Board?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we need to vote. Yes, we have a motion by Mr. Osceola, second by Mr. Soto. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0. Board, any other comments or questions? Superintendent? If not, all the staff, happy holidays, and the students, happy holidays. Enjoy your 2 weeks. Is it more than 2 weeks?
Yes, it is 2 weeks.
2 weeks,
Yes.
2 weeks?
No.
Everybody knows that, exactly. So enjoy and be safe and be careful and have lots of fun and relax. We stand adjourned.
Happy holidays, Cam.